3 expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times in April, August, and November. And every time he has a cast on his arm. But no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. Follow the Sun was a very popular travel agency. It sold package tours to the hottest and most exotic destinations. But one day, the police found out that this company helped criminals flee the country. They also learned the exact date when it would happen the next time. On that day, several police officers arrived at the airport. They stopped a group of tourists who were flying to a Caribbean island, but the detectives didn't know the criminal's identity. That's why they had to search the baggage of all the passengers. Look at their bags and say who the criminal is. It's the young woman on the left. If she's going on a package tour to a hot place, why does she need a winter jacket? No matter how fast you are, you'll never be faster than me. I follow you wherever you go. What am I? I'm your shadow. Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called an ambulance. But when specialists arrived, he was already unconscious. The man was immediately taken to a hospital. Luckily, doctors had enough time to save him. When they figured out what was wrong with Carl, everyone was shocked. The man had been poisoned. But how could it happen? He and his wife ate the same dishes, but Olivia was perfectly fine. Even more surprising, the next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Marta takes 6 ice cubes from the freezer and puts them on a plate. She removes 2 of them and adds another ice cube. She waits for 20 minutes and puts them all back in the freezer. How many ice cubes are left? Just 1, but it won't be exactly a cube. All the ice cubes will have melted and, placed in the freezer again, will form one large chunk of ice. Joe texted his friend Randy. He needed some advice. Joe wrote, "My girlfriend took my professional camera without asking permission, and then she accidentally smashed it. What should I do?" The answer was bizarre. At first, Joe didn't think he wanted to follow this advice, but a bit later he decided it was the best course of action. What was the advice? Forgive and forget. Someone broke into Samantha's house through the window and stole some valuable things. When the police came, she told them she suspected her younger brother Sam. The police officers went to question the guy, but he denied everything. "I was playing basketball several days ago and broke my leg. As you can see, it's in a cast now. It's hard for me to even leave my house." The police officers left, but the next day, one of them saw Sam near his house. The guy was still wearing the cast, but the officer immediately arrested him. Why? When the police visited Sam, the guy had a cast on his right leg. Now it was on his left leg. A farmer only has goats, sheep, and horses on his farm. At the moment, they're all horses but 5, all goats but 4, and all sheep but 3. How many of each animal does the farmer have? There are 3 sheep, 2 goats, and 1 horse on the farm. Altogether, there are 6 animals. Police officer Cheryl Adams was walking along the river, taking some pictures she needed for a case, when a man crashed into her. They both fell to the ground. After helping Cheryl to her feet, the man started to apologize. Someone had stolen his wallet and he was trying to catch the thief.
I was painting my boat and my wallet was lying next to me. But then I got distracted. And when I turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore.
Cheryl understood that the thief couldn't have gone far. They ran to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them attentively, the police officer knew who the thief was.
Yes!
Now, it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his left pant leg. Damien was at work when he found out he'd won the lottery jackpot. He told his accountant he wanted to give half of this money to his best friend, Logan. But random people started to show up in the office, calling themselves Logan to deceive the accountant and get the money. Can you figure out who the real best friend is? It's the guy wearing a matching bracelet with Damien. Look at these prisoners. Can you figure out who's planning to escape? It's the most innocent-looking guy, reading a book. In the corner of his cell, we can see a pile of dirt. He has already dug a hole, planning to use it to escape. Sandra's boyfriend went on a business trip to New York. Soon, the girl got a weird text message from him. It looked like this. What did Sandra's boyfriend want to say? The message means, "Unhappy without you." A woman went out of the airport terminal. She hailed a taxi and gave directions to the driver. As soon as they drove off, the woman started to talk. Her chatter annoyed the driver. He turned to her and said, "I can't hear what you're saying. I'm almost deaf." The woman didn't open her mouth for the rest of the ride. Only after she got out of the taxi did she realize the man had lied to her. How did the woman understand it? If the driver had hearing problems, he wouldn't have been able to follow her directions. Dylan was an extremely popular guy in his office. Tall, handsome, funny, and friendly. But there was one thing that made certain people dislike him. The man had a new girlfriend every month. That Friday, Dylan came to work very happy. He had finally bought the car of his dreams. At lunchtime, he went to the parking lot to check on his new toy. Oh no, his car was a mess, scratched and covered in paint. Dylan called security. He had 3 suspects, all of them his exes. Andrea said she didn't even know that Dylan had gotten a new car. Catherine answered she'd been preparing a report for their boss and hadn't left her desk. And Mila told the guy that she'd forgiven him long ago. Who ruined Dylan's car? It was Catherine. She has some paint stains on her skirt, and the color is the same as the paint on the man's car. Emily was standing on one side of the river, and Anna was on the other. Anna shouted, asking Emily to come and meet her, and Emily did that. There was no bridge across the river, but the girl crossed it anyway without even getting wet. How did she do it? The river was frozen. One guy was going to Disneyland. At one point, he arrived at a crossroads. There was a sign there. Blueville, right. Disneyland, left. The guy stood there for a while and then, terribly upset, he went home. Why? He thought Disneyland had really left. An orange house is made out of orange bricks. A yellow house is made out of yellow stones. A blue house is made out of blue logs. What is a green house made of? It's made out of glass, of course. Stuart works as a teacher in an old British magic school, which is located in a beautiful castle. Early in the morning, he's walking down the corridor. Suddenly, Stuart hears a loud noise from the class and goes there to check. He sees 3 students raising their wands. One of them is a fake wizard. Can you guess who? This guy, he has an ordinary twig instead of a magic wand. Stuart settles down the quarrel and goes to the dining hall. He chooses one of these 4 breakfast sets. But Stuart doesn't eat any meat or fish. Also, he's allergic to all the purple fruits and berries. Can you help him choose the safest option? First of all, let's exclude the first breakfast. This cotton cheese bagel looks good, but it contains salmon. The second set has toast with blueberry jam, which may cause an allergic reaction. As for the fourth option, fried bacon is hiding under this cute waffle. So, Stuart should choose the third option. Although it contains some purple cabbage, nobody said that he's allergic to purple vegetables too. The cook offers Stuart a deal.
If you guess my riddle, you'll get a double dessert.
Stuart agrees. Here's the riddle.
What melts in a freezer?
The frost when the freezer is switched off. After breakfast, Stuart goes to the school greenhouse to say hi to Miss Palmer. She looks very confused.
In the morning, 3 evil wizards opened a magical portal and snuck into the greenhouse. They took the shape of my plants, and now I don't know where they are.
Can you help Stuart find them? Take a look at this cactus. It has no root. It just floats in the air without a pot. All the lilies have 6 petals, but this one only has 5. And this pumpkin has a watermelon pattern and color. Therefore, these 3 odd plants should be the wizards. Stuart walks down the Great Hall. Suddenly, an owl lands on his head and ruins his hairstyling. Stuart gets furious and asks 3 students standing nearby, "Whose owl is this?" Can you spot the owner of this bird? It's this guy. He has the same colored accessory as his owl. It's time for the flying lesson. 3 students, Wendy, Drake, and Blair, are about to have a race on their broomsticks. Can you spot who's cheating? Blair is casting a spell on her broomstick to make it go faster. Blair gets disqualified. Meanwhile, Drake and Wendy and Rob get ready to start the race. Can you guess who's gonna win? Drake has a broken broom, and Rob's position is wrong. It will take him more time to catch the broom and hit the road, so Wendy has the best chance of winning. Stuart begins Transfiguration lesson. He gives each of his students an apple and asks them to turn the fruits into stones. And then Stuart goes to the toilet. After a while, he returns and finds a huge toad sitting on his desk. Stuart questions 3 suspects. Among the students, Drake says, "I didn't do it. I was too busy with your task. Luckily, I made it." Bella says,
It was Magnus. I saw him catching a toad in the pond last night.
and Magnus says,
It was Drake. He wanted to distract you because he didn't do his homework.
who's lying? Drake. Take a look at his desk. There's an apple in front of him, but he said that he succeeded in turning it into a stone. Stuart is riding a broom in the garden during his lunch break. Suddenly, someone throws a purple paint tube on his head. Stuart loses balance and falls. He finds 3 suspects and interrogates them. Billy says,
I was just sitting under this ancient oak and doing my homework.
Bella says,
I was painting Billy's portrait. At some point, I noticed that my purple paint was missing. We both were here all the time.
and Lily says,
I was just flying on my broom. I didn't even see any paint, sir.
who pranked Stuart? There's purple paint on Bella's hands, but it's okay because she was painting. Billy's outfit looks fine, but Lily has these odd smudges of purple paint on her hair. That's because she hid the tube under her witchy hat after the prank. Stuart is visiting the human world once a week because he loves one local bakery. But today, he finds out that he's not the only magical guy here. Can you guess why? Take a look at this pretty lady. She looks young, but her reflection in the mirror shows she's an old witchy lady. Every winter, a fancy ball takes place at the magic school. Several students perform a traditional dance as part of the opening ceremony. Suddenly, one of the dancers, Lily, loses her balance and falls in front of everyone. Stuart decides to investigate this case and finds out that someone had spilled olive oil on the dance floor on purpose. He interrogates 3 suspects. Harry says,
Sir, I didn't do it. Lily is my girlfriend. Why would I prank her so meanly?
Richard says, Lily totally deserved that. She refused to go to the ball with me. I don't know who did it, but I'm grateful to this person. And Bella says,
Before the performance, I was taking selfies with my boyfriend. Look at the pictures, if you don't believe me.
Now Stuart knows exactly who's guilty. What about you? It was Bella. Take a look at her selfies. She's wearing a witch bottle necklace and it's filled with greenish oil, but now it's empty. The magic school hired a photographer to take fancy pictures at the ball. This photo was taken at midnight, and this one half an hour later. Can you guess what happened here? This wizard didn't push her. He was actually trying to save her by raising his hands and casting a spell. And he succeeded, as we can see from the second picture. The winter ball is over. Stuart throws an after party for teachers at his apartment. Everything goes well, but the next day, Stuart finds out that someone had stolen the rarest and most expensive spell book from his secret library. Stuart has never told anyone about this room, but the lock isn't broken, which means that the thief knew a special spell to open the door. Only 4 guests possess this level of magic: Ambrose, Morgana, Rosamond, and Richard. Stuart rushes to the teacher's room. He questions all the suspects. Each teacher claims to have nothing to do with the robbery. Can you guess who's the thief? Ambrose. His coat is missing one gold button because he dropped it at the crime scene. Meanwhile, Ambrose looks through the spell book and finds a potion recipe that allows teleporting anywhere. But unfortunately, the last 3 ingredients are encoded. Here's a hint to crack the first one. It's a flower that can be found between the nose and the chin. Any idea what it might be? Tulips. Here's the next hint. What kind of vegetable do people look forward to getting every month? Celery. And this clue will lead you to the final ingredient. What kind of room can you eat? Mushroom. Ambrose finishes the potion and teleports to an unknown place. In the evening, Stuart arranges an urgent Zoom call with his fellow wizards. They're all currently in the same city, but they don't have time to meet offline. Unfortunately, their video call gets interrupted by a stranger. Can you spot the imposter? All the wizards live in the same city, which means they're in the same time zone. The call takes place in the evening. It should be dark outside, but this guy is in the middle of a sunny day. Therefore, he's the imposter. Stuart goes to the magic market to buy special ingredients for a potion that will help him find the stolen book. 1 violet costs 10 bronze coins, and the price for 1 lily is 15 coins. Can you calculate the price of this 1 starflower? One starflower will cost 20 bronze coins. Each flower costs 2.5 coins per petal. And this particular starflower has 8 petals. Hey Sherlocks, I really need your help here. So, take out your magnifying glasses and join me on this detective chase. Yeah. Look at this image. What's wrong here? These guys seem to be playing tennis, but they're using a tiny football. Now how about these people? One of them is from the future. Can you figure out who it is? Be very attentive. Right, it's this guy. He's got a smartphone in his pocket. This looks like a regular picnic in the park. But one of these people is a time traveler. Who is it? It's the guy with a USB port in his arm. A sailor has a piece of fabric that is 16 feet long. He cuts 2 feet of this fabric per day. How many days will he need to cut the whole cloth? Your first answer might have been 8 days, but in fact, the sailor will only need 7 days. The last remaining piece of fabric will be 2 feet long, and the sailor won't need to cut it. Adam's car has broken down right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing? It's winter. Snowdrifts are huge, and the wind is freezing cold. Adam has to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he follows the first path, he'll have to deal with hungry wolves. The second one goes through an area inhabited by bears. And if he takes the third road, he'll have to cross a river covered with thin ice. Which is the safest way? Adam should sneak through the bear's territory. These animals sleep in winter. Look at this picture. Which cage, in your opinion, is the safest? It's the last one. Even though a scorpion sting is painful, it's rarely life-threatening. The next tricky brain teaser for you. Can you figure out who has stolen her computer? It's definitely the girl on the right. Look at the strange shape her hoodie has taken. One of these girls is a wanted criminal. But which one? It's the one with dark hair. She has the same mole as the girl in the photo. Now there is something terribly wrong in this image. Can you figure out what it is? Look at that snowdrift near the cactus on the right. It's a desert. What is a snowdrift doing there? Look at these people and try to figure out who will divorce soon. Most likely, it will be the couple on the right. Have you noticed that the woman has secretly given a note with her phone number to the bartender? After a natural disaster, there was a blackout in Sam's town. Some criminals used darkness to kidnap the guy for ransom. The building where he was kept had 3 doors. Sam could use one of them to escape. But the first door hid a trap that would crush anyone as soon as they entered. Behind the second door, there were chainsaws that could cut anything into pieces in no time. The flesh-eating acid was bubbling behind the third door. Which door should Sam choose? Chainsaws can't harm the guy because there's no electricity in the town, remember? Liza was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her father trying to control her life, so she decided to run away from home. She took some money and the most discreet car she could find in the garage and left. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back. That's why she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. One day, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said her room number was 710 and offered to show her where it was. Liza immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in the car, and sped away. Why? The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 710 is supposed to be on the 7th floor. But the hotel has only 2 floors. This must be a trap. A tourist who didn't speak English came up to the ticket counter at a New York subway station. One ticket cost 50 cents, and the man handed the ticketing clerk $1. The woman gave the tourist 2 tickets without even asking how many he needed. How did she know? The tourist gave her 4 quarters, and she immediately realized that if he needed just 1 ticket, he would have just given her 2 quarters. Ice melts when you heat it, but if you heat me, I'll become solid. Can you figure out what I am? I'm an egg. I'm weightless, but you can see me. And if you put me in a water bottle, it will become much lighter. What am I? Right you are. I'm a hole. After having had a fight with a powerful wizard, Louisa found herself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. She couldn't escape, Jumping out of the window was out of the question because it was too high above the ground. And the only tree growing next to that window wasn't sturdy enough for the girl to use it to climb down. At the same time, in the room where Louisa was locked, there were 3 doors. One of them could lead the girl to freedom, but behind the first door, a fire was raging. The second door held back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there was a maze filled with animal traps. Which door should Louisa choose to escape? Louisa should break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and then going through the maze. It won't be dark anymore, and the girl will easily avoid the traps. Now, your task is to crack a few Reebus puzzles. Be very attentive and try to think outside the box. What does this mean? Right, that's Big Sister. How about this Rebus puzzle? The correct answer is right between the eyes. Look at this one. That's good afternoon. What can you fill if your hands are empty? Well, this is confusing. How can I fill anything if there's nothing in my hands? You'll probably be able to figure it out. And the correct answer is gloves, or mittens if that's what you prefer. Mr. Wilson's company had some financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office.
They stole my safe with all the money I had.
The police officers who came to investigate this case asked the man why he was so sure that there had been several thieves.
Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry.
The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left some dents on the carpet, but the floor covering is perfectly smooth. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The detective jumped into his car and set off on a chase. Soon, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he'd seen the red bike.
No, I've only seen a silver convertible.
Then, the detective saw a gray car approach from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she had seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber?
Yeah.
The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck.
Get ready for a tough but very fun riddles competition. Yeah! Take whatever helps you activate your logical skills. A magnifying glass, a deerstalker hat, or a notebook. And let's get rolling. Let's warm up with some easy stuff. Can you find a vampire among these emojis? Here it is. Ugh, creepy. How about this crowd of people? Can you spot a vampire hiding among them? it is this girl. Look at how sharp her teeth are. And one more riddle for you. Which of these people is a vampire? See those fang marks on the neck of that guy? He was bitten and has already turned into a vampire himself. Stephen was found unconscious in his living room on a Sunday evening. Someone had hit him on the head. The man was rushed to a hospital while the police started questioning the suspects. There were 3 of them: Stephen's ex-wife, his neighbor, and his younger brother. Stephen's ex-wife said she'd been walking in the park with her little niece all day. Stephen's neighbor said she'd wanted to go on a date with her boyfriend, but since it had been raining heavily, they decided to stay at home. And Stephen's younger brother said he'd been at work, finishing a large project. It was so important he had to work even on weekends. The police figured out who the attacker was quite fast. Can you do the same? It was Stephen's ex-wife. It had been raining heavily all day long. Who would walk in the park with a little kid in such weather? A criminal has kidnapped your friend and tied him to a tree. A huge, vicious dog is guarding this tree. You need to save your friend at night. But when you come to that place, you only have one piece of meat with you. It's not big enough to distract the dog for the 3 minutes you need to cut the ropes and help your friend escape. How can you solve this problem? Cut the meat into small pieces and throw them all over the garden. And while the dog is distracted, set your friend free. One day, Amy went on a date with her boyfriend Joe to a nice restaurant. Joe gave her flowers and candy. They had a great meal and enjoyed the date. But in the morning, Amy woke up with a severe allergic reaction. She went to the hospital, where she was told that she had been poisoned. But to figure out what antidote Amy needed, it was crucial to understand the source of the poison. The detective invited to investigate the case questioned everyone who could poison the girl, her boyfriend, the cook, and Amy's friend Cindy. Joe said that they'd eaten the same food in the restaurant. The cook said that he had brought Amy her pizza, and it had been freshly made. And Cindy said she thought Amy's boyfriend had poisoned her. She added that he had asked her what flowers Amy liked to gain Amy's trust. Have you realized who poisoned the girl? It was Cindy. Have you noticed the book on her table? It was about poisonous flowers. She advised Joe to give Amy flowers that would cause health problems. One company organized a betting game where one red and one blue marble were placed in a dark box. If a player picked the blue marble, the company had to pay them $5,000. But if the player guessed it wrong, they had to pay the company $100. The company cheated by always putting in the box 2 red marbles instead of 1 red and 1 blue, but no one could prove it. Mark was observing people lose one after another. Then he took part in the game and won. How did he do it? The man picked a marble and quickly put it in his mouth without showing the thing to anyone else. The remaining marble was red. According to the rules, it meant that Mark's marble was blue. The company had to pay him the money. Now, you need to pay attention to every little detail. Can you figure out whose dog it is? Look at that guy wearing a red jacket. See that leash he's holding? It matches the dog's collar, so most likely he's the owner. This parrot has managed to sneak away from its owner, and now the vet is looking for them. Can you say whose bird this is? The owner is that woman sitting on the couch. There's a cage behind her. Another waiting room at the vet. And whose Sphinx cat is this cutie? See that guy waiting for the doctor to bring back his pet? He's surrounded by lots of furry animals and can't stop sneezing. He must be allergic to fur. That's why he got himself a Sphinx kitty. And whose horse is this? See that girl standing in line? She's the only one wearing riding boots. She must be the owner. These kids seem to be terrified. No wonder. See that white rat darting around the classroom? Who does it belong to? It's that girl who's checking her backpack. You can see a cage and some rodent food inside. Ah, look at this cutie. What do you think? Who does this mini pig belong to? This guy is the owner. His outfit matches the scarf the pig is wearing. How sweet is that? And whose hedgehog is this? This lady is the owner. She's wearing special gloves to handle the animal.
Yes!
And who does this absolutely adorable pug belong to? Its owner is this guy. If you look attentively, you'll notice a pug tattoo on his leg. Lily came home and saw her favorite vase shattered. Extremely upset, she exclaimed, "What's happened to my vase?" Her husband Sam explained that around lunchtime, he heard a loud crash from their bedroom. He rushed there and saw that Lily's expensive vase had been broken, and a robber was running away. Sam followed the man outside, but his glasses got foggy because of the cold weather. That's why he missed the man. Lily called the police, but after police officers heard the whole story, they refused to investigate this case. Why? Glasses fog up when you enter a warm place, not vice versa. Sam invented the story because he was afraid to admit he had been the one to break the vase. Oh. Emma's husband Liam knew his wife had been dreaming of going to an archaeological site. One day, she told him about the perfect opportunity. There was a remote site ready to be excavated, but there was no internet or network connection there. She would have to camp in a tent with almost no modern conveniences. But since she was really excited about this trip, Liam was ready to wait for her at home. 2 days later, Liam received a message and a photo from Emma. The man got furious. He realized Emma had been lying about the whole thing. How did he understand it? Before leaving, Emma told her husband there was no internet connection or cell phone reception there. Then how did she manage to send him the photo? Several bank workers visited a canteen in their office building. Since it was the Riddle day, Matthew, Isaac, and Wyatt were served tea, and Hunter, Christian, and Nathan drank coffee. What drink did Aaron get? Aaron drank tea simply because of his double-letter name. A man with a bandage around his head came to a police station. I was hitchhiking when a car stopped. The driver asked me to check if one of the tires was flat. I bent over to look, and he hit me on the head. When I regained consciousness, I found out he had taken all my money and smartphone. I only remember that the guy had a big car, large eyebrows, and a mustache. Soon the police had a suspect. They found him in a cafe, but this man said it couldn't be him. He changed the tires on his car 2 weeks ago. And since then, the car had been parked near the cafe, but the detective realized the man was lying right away. How? There's a no parking sign near the cafe. No car could be staying there for 2 weeks. Isabella is standing behind Mia, but at the same time, Mia is also standing behind Isabella. How is it possible? The girls are standing with their backs turned toward each other. Mrs. Red was a big boss in a large company. Recently, she hired a few new employees. One day, her assistant was filling out their documents and found something strange.
What?
She informed Mrs. Red that one of the new employees seemed to have fake documents. But the boss was in a hurry and told the assistant that she'd have a look at the papers the next day.
Yeah.
But the next day, Mrs. Red found out that her assistant was in a hospital, unconscious.
Oh my God.
Someone had attacked her on her way to work. Mrs. Red hurried to check the new employee's documents, look at them and try to figure out which ID is fake. This ID card claims that Edward is 34 years old, but the man using this document is way older.
Oh.
It was an extremely hot day. Police Officer Black was driving along a countryside road. Suddenly, he noticed a hitchhiker on the side of the road and stopped to give him a ride. The man explained that he had been waiting for someone to pick him up for more than 2 hours and offered the officer some ice cream. Black refused and asked the guy about a gang of criminals who had just robbed a jewelry store. The hitchhiker exclaimed, "I've just seen a red car speeding past me. Must have been the robbers, but they were driving in the opposite direction. We'll need to turn back." Black didn't believe him and took him to the police station. How did the police officer guess the hitchhiker was a criminal? If the hitchhiker had indeed been standing on the side of the road for 2 hours, the ice cream would have already melted. So, he lied to lead Black the wrong way. Oliver has in mind one of 3 numbers: 1, 2, or 3. Charlotte is allowed to ask him just one question to figure out which number it is. Oliver can answer her question only with no, yes, and I can't say. Which question should Charlotte ask? She can say, "I have the number 1 or 2 in mind. Is your number larger than my number?" If Oliver answers yes, it means he's chosen 3. If he answers, "I can't say," the number he has in mind is 2. And if he says no, his number is 1. Several people were asked to step over a pencil lying on the floor, but none of them managed to do it. Why? The pencil was placed near the wall. Who doesn't like Reebus puzzles? They're fun, and I've got a few tricky ones for you. Enjoy! What does it mean? It's misunderstood. Try to crack this one. So we see pot and 8 O's. Together, they make potatoes. And how about this one? That's high five. A small hint. The arrangement of these letters is important. This Rebus means, hurry up! And one more puzzle for you. What could it mean? It's a friend in need. A hungry vampire is following you on a deserted street one dark night. Suddenly, you see a house with its door open and hide there. The vampire can't enter your shelter, but is patiently waiting outside. However, you still have some hope. There are 3 tunnels leading out of the house. But inside the first tunnel, there is molten lava. The walls of the second tunnel keep closing every 10 seconds, crushing everything that gets inside. And the floorboards of the third tunnel collapse every 5 seconds, sending everything lying on them into an abyss. What should you do? Just wait till the morning. Vampires can't stand daylight, and your pursuer will have to leave you alone.
Yes!
Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. A priceless diamond disappeared, and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime. and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitors said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he is fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila! The diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So, the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon, and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the upper left corner? Those look like bare footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, "Smith, he threw the snowball." Dr. Brown immediately knew which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, "Question Mark Smith. He threw the snowball." But the boys were clever and put a bar instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. A man carrying 2 bags of sand crosses Genovia's border every day on a bicycle. Every time, customs officers stop and search him to see if he's trying to smuggle anything illegal. But the officers can't find any proof that the man is a smuggler. The man laughs and crosses the border successfully, smuggling an item per trip. Can you figure out what he's smuggling? That's easy. He's a bicycle smuggler. He distracts the guards with 2 bags of sand. But every day he is crossing the Genovian border with a new bicycle. Smart guy, huh? Mrs. Pinkface is the world's fastest robber. She works alongside the criminal mastermind Zebra Mask. But Mrs. Pinkface was recently caught and put in jail. She and her partner in crime had already set up a plan in case this happened. Zebra Mask will pass outside the prison fence and send Pinkface a signal. 45 seconds after the signal, he will turn off the electric fence, giving her a few seconds to make her prison break. The thing is, Pinkface doesn't have a clock. She only has a lighter and 2 fuses. The fuses are flammable, and she knows they both burn for precisely 1 minute. They won't burn evenly, so if she cuts them in half, one side might burn for 40 seconds, while the other burns for 20 seconds. How can Pinkface use the fuses to time exactly 45 seconds and make her unique prison break? Here's the key insight. If Pinkface lights the same fuse on both ends simultaneously, it will burn out in precisely 30 seconds. To time the last 15 seconds, she will have to light the second fuse. She can light both ends of the first fuse at the same time to time 30 seconds and light the end of the second fuse. When the first fuse burns out, she'll know 30 seconds of the second fuse is also burnt. So, by lighting the other end of the second fuse, she'll be able to time 45 seconds and make her jailbreak. You just came back from a long holiday trip. You bought a new suitcase to store all the new things you got. But when arriving home, you forgot the code to open it. Luckily, you left yourself a note on your cell phone to help you decipher the code of the lock. 682. One digit is right and in its place. 614. One digit is right but in the wrong place. 206. Two digits are right but both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380. One digit is right but in the wrong place. What's the 3-digit code? (042). Friday morning started busy in Somerville. The police station got a call saying that a woman had just robbed a bank and was seen entering Sunset Elementary School. The police chief hurried over to the school and found there were 2 teachers present that morning. He immediately knew which teacher was the thief. Can you tell who it was? Take a look at the second teacher's long-sleeve shirt. It has a little bit of cash peeking out of it. She's most certainly the thief. The Apex 18 space station called NASA's headquarters to report a crime. On a recent mission, astronauts recovered a valuable piece of evidence that could prove there was life on Mars. Andy, the mission chief, said he put the piece of rock inside a safe, located in the storage room. The next morning, he went to the storage room to put on his astronaut suit, and noticed that the safe was open. And oh no, the rock was missing. NASA conducted an online investigation to find out who the thief was. Paula said she wasn't feeling well the day before, so she spent the day in her room. James said he spent the previous day fixing a broken solar panel outside the spaceship and didn't see anything. Rebecca spent the previous 24 hours talking to NASA's Space Center to resolve a problem. Can you tell who is lying? It's James. If he went outside to check on solar panels, he first needed to go into the storage room to put on his spacesuit. Plus, there's a rock-shaped item in his left pocket. He must be the culprit. Tuesday morning, Amy got a call from her boss, Tom. He was in distress because a very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Amy immediately went there to question the employees. She soon gathered 3 suspects. Elijah said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend to dinner, and Evelyn had visited an art gallery. It didn't take long for Amy to understand who was lying. Why? It was Elijah. Take a close look at his ticket. The date is for Sunday and not the night before. This means he's probably the one lying. Peter was lost in the woods when he encountered an evil magician. The magician cast a spell on him that transported Peter to an empty room inside a huge tower. To make things worse, the evil sorcerer put the tower on fire. The room Peter was in had no doors and only a small window. Thankfully, he found 3 magic potions that could maybe help him escape. If he drank the first potion, he would get incredible physical strength. If he chose the second potion, he could summon any animal he wanted to help him. And if he drank the last potion, he would turn into a vampire. Which potion should Peter choose? Well, no animal could help him escape the tower, and even if he had all the strength in the world, he wouldn't be able to beat the fire. But if he turned into a vampire, then he could transform into a bat and fly away through the little window. So the third bottle it is. Katie got lost in the desert. She walked for hours when suddenly she came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall, where she could drink some water, she had to cross a bridge. There were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was far from the ground, and its rope looked like it could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling on it. The last bridge stood above a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should she choose? The last one. The bridge stands above a poisonous lake, but she won't touch the water when crossing it. Rupert was working in his office when a huge power shortage turned off all the lights in the building. He heard footsteps approaching behind him, and the next thing he knew, he was feeling dizzy. Rupert passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared, asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rupert read the note aloud several times before he finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password he typed into the device? He typed in 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Phew, that wasn't obvious, huh? Bill and Jonah found themselves stuck inside the cavern of the Great Genie. There was nothing there but a wall with 3 buttons. There was a red button, a yellow one, and a green. Somewhere on the floor, they found a note that read, TDUPT RNOREHEBSSTE. They clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a hidden door on the wall. Which button did they choose? The red button. They unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to deposit the day's money inside the safe and was shocked to find out it was all gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it should have been one of her workers. She asked each one of them what they had been doing that day. Sloan, a sales manager, said she had been prospecting for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Lily, the designer, said she had been working, but she also admitted she hadn't been really productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he used to steal Miss Taylor's money.
You need to take 2 apples from your garden and bring them to your friend. But she lives on the other bank of the river. To get to her house, you need to cross a bridge. It can hold your weight and the weight of 1 apple. If you try to step on the bridge with 2 apples, it'll collapse into the water, which is swarming with piranhas. What can you do to bring your friend 2 apples if you can only make 1 trip? You should cross the bridge while juggling the apples. A billionaire's wife called the police at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. She said she just found her husband unconscious in his study. A baseball bat was lying next to him on the floor. The police questioned everyone who lived in the house. The wife said she had been away, buying her husband a present for their 10th wedding anniversary. The driver said he had left the evening before. He went to his parents' house because they needed some help. And the cook said he'd been preparing breakfast since 6 a.m. and hadn't left the kitchen. Who's lying? The wife. Stores aren't likely to be open so early on Sunday morning. Olivia was visiting her friend Ava, who lived in another city. In Ava's house, there was one room that was always locked, and Olivia wasn't allowed to enter that room. But she knew Ava kept the key for that room in her desk drawer. And one day, while her friend was away, Olivia took the key and unlocked the room. It was dark inside, so Olivia switched on the light. In the middle of the room, there was a table with a book lying on it. Suddenly, Olivia heard the front door open. She quickly switched off the light, locked the room, put the key back into the drawer, and pretended to be watching TV. Sometime later, Ava came up to her and asked,
"Why did you enter the room that I asked you not to enter?"
How did she understand Olivia had been to the room? Ava touched the light bulb, and it was hot. A glass jar is standing on the table so that a part of it is in the air. In half an hour, the jar will fall to the floor. Why? What's inside the jar? Inside the jar, there's some ice, but its weight is distributed in such a way that the jar is balanced. Once the ice melts and turns into water, the jar will fall. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. Stephen had a storeroom in his house. It got locked with a special padlock which could be closed without a key. But to open it, Stephen had to use one. The only person who had the key was Stephen. There were no duplicates. The man locked the door carefully every evening. But one day, a golden brooch was found lying in the middle of his storeroom. It had been stolen from a museum the day before. The police suspected that Stephen was the thief because no one else had the key to the storeroom, and the man lived alone. Stephen knew for sure he was innocent, but then, how did the brooch appear in the room? Stephen was obviously framed. While he was in the storeroom, the real criminal changed the padlock. Stephen didn't need the key to lock it. That's why he didn't realize the padlock had been changed. Later, the thief opened the lock with his own key and left the brooch inside the room. Uh-oh, something's gone terribly wrong here. Can you solve this case and figure out which food is poisonous? If you ask me, all these dishes look questionable. I mean, look at them. Spiders, strange green fumes, roaches. But the dish that caused food poisoning is actually these French fries. See those flies around the plate? They don't seem to be alive. That green sauce on top of the fries must be the poison. Now, I have a tricky question for you. When are 1,893 and 2,548 smaller than 498? When they are years BCE. Detective Michael Brown went missing while investigating a tricky case. His friend, Detective Williams, found out that one of their colleagues was behind his disappearance. Williams visited Brown's home, and his friend's wife gave him a note.
Michael told me to give it to you if something happened to him.
In the note, there were 4 numbers: 2, 8, 6, 7. Williams started to question his colleagues.
I've been away visiting my parents,
said Tess. Jack said, I haven't seen Brown for a couple of days. And Nora replied,
I'm just a trainee. Detective Brown gave me a task and I was busy with it.
Williams thought for a while, looked at the note again, and understood who was guilty. Have you figured it out too? It was Tess. 2, 8, 6, 7. The first letters of these numbers make up her name. A treasure hunter got lost in a forest, but after he had been walking for some time, he noticed a crossroad with a big stone in the middle. There was a note on this stone which read, 4 plus NO 5. The man realized that the sign showed the direction to the treasure, but it was written in some tricky cipher. Can you help the treasure hunter to decipher the code? The man should turn the note upside down. Then it will read south. That's where the treasure is. When Elizabeth was 2 years old, her sister was twice her age. Now, Elizabeth is 18. How old is her sister? Her sister is 20 now. Let's have some fun with a few non-standard riddles. Who is bigger? Mr. Bigger, Mrs. Bigger, or their baby daughter? Their daughter, because she's a little bigger. Neat, right? Why do birds fly south in the winter? Flying is much better than walking. What do you get after you crossbreed a radio and a fridge? Some seriously cool music. Why does a math book look so unhappy? Its problems are rarely solved. What is the easiest way to double your money? The only easy way to do it is to put your money in front of a mirror. Let's get back on a more serious detective track. Kevin woke up in a hospital. He only remembers his name and nothing else. A doctor came in to check on the guy. He said 3 young women were waiting to see Kevin. The women came in. Strangely, each of them claimed she was the guy's sister. Only one of them was telling the truth. Who is it? It's the one in the middle. She has a birthmark on her hand, and Kevin has a similar one. Megan invited her friends to a restaurant to celebrate her birthday. They had a lot of fun. Megan got the best birthday present ever. Her friends gave her a ring with a large diamond. But suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes, the lights came back on, but Megan's ring was gone. Look at the image attentively and try to figure out who stole it. It's the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He put the ring inside. Now there's much more water in it than before the power went out. Jacob's girlfriend, Nicole, loved riddles. One day, she was on a business trip to France. She called Jacob and told him it was her relative's birthday.
Could you go and congratulate my family member, please?
When the guy asked her which relative he had to visit, Nicole answered,
It's the daughter of the only son of my grandfather.
Who is this mysterious relative Jacob was asked to congratulate? It's Nicole's sister.
Hey, my dear Brightsiders. I've got a nice riddle challenge for you. I know you've been waiting. Set everything you've been doing aside. Your detective skills are needed. Long ago, an evil witch kidnapped 3 married women and turned them into rose bushes. One of the women, who had children, begged the witch to let her see her family, and the witch agreed. She took the woman to her home for one night and turned her back into a rose bush the next morning. The witch had no idea the woman's husband had followed her back because he wanted to save his wife. He looked at 3 identical rose bushes and suddenly realized which one was his wife. How? The rose bush his wife had been turned into didn't have any night dew on the leaves. A woman called the police to report that her grandmother's ring had been stolen. When a detective came to her house, she saw shards of broken glass on the ground and dirty footprints. But instead of looking for the thief, she arrested the woman who had made the call. Why? If someone had indeed broken into the house, the shards of glass would have been inside the house, not outside. As for the window, it was broken from the inside, most likely to stage the robbery. A man called his wife from the office and said he would be home by 8. He arrived home at 2 minutes past 8, but his wife was very angry because of his late arrival. Why? The wife thought the man would be home by 8 p.m., but he came home at 8:02 a.m. A small shop in New York is called 7 Bells, but there are 8 bells hanging outside. The store owner can easily correct this mistake, but chooses not to. Why? Initially, this was indeed just a mistake. But over time, the store owner noticed that people often came inside to point out the inconsistency, and this started to increase his sales. A queen had a bowl of golden apples, which were her most treasured possession. One day, one of the apples went missing.
Oh no!
She gathered all the members of the court in the throne room and told them she knew how to find the thief. Each of them had to touch a rusty pot with a rooster inside while the lights were off. The rooster would crow when the criminal touched the pot. Strangely, the rooster didn't crow throughout the whole procedure. Despite this, the queen knew who had stolen the apple. How did she figure it out? By touching the pot, the members of the court ended up with rust on their hands. But the thief was too scared to touch the pot in case the rooster crowed, so they didn't have any rust on their hands. A rich man named James Leonard was attacked in his house on a Sunday afternoon. These people were in the house at that time: the maid, the cook, the butler, the gardener, and James's wife. They gave the following statements. The maid said, "I was laying the table." The cook told the police, "I was cooking breakfast." The butler said, "I was polishing silverware and dishes." The gardener added, "I was planting tomato seeds." And the wife said, "I was reading a book." So, who attacked Mr. Leonard? It was the cook. You don't cook breakfast in the afternoon? Dennis is a talented architect. He's designed a unique skyscraper, and the construction works were about to start. His boss asked the guy to show around a group of specialists from a competitor company. The only condition was that they weren't allowed to take any photos. Dennis did as he was told, but when the group was going to leave, he asked the security to detain one man. The architect claimed he had been taking photos during the tour around the site. How did he understand it? The man was carrying an umbrella. He kept pointing it at different objects, asking lots of questions, but the sky was cloudless. What did he need the umbrella for? A camera must be hidden there. Two men are going to fill their watering cans with water from the river. Who will bring more water? The spout of the older man's watering can is situated lower than the spout of the other man's can, and the level of water can't be higher than the spout. It means the younger man will bring more water. Mrs. Smith claims that her neighbor, Mrs. Miller, has stolen her laundry. The woman says she hung the laundry in her backyard at 10 a.m. And when she went out of the house 2 hours later, she saw Mrs. Miller putting it in her bag. "I didn't do this. It's a lie," the other woman replied angrily. The detective investigating this case asks Mrs. Smith to go to the police station for trying to slander her neighbor. How has he figured out that Mrs. Smith is lying? It's freezing outside, and there's snow on the roofs. In 2 hours, damp laundry would be so frozen it'd be impossible to fold it and put it in a bag. Look at this group of people and try to figure out who the man's wife is. It's the woman in purple. Both she and the biker are wearing matching wedding rings. Detective Morris decided to have a meal at a cafe, but as he came closer, he saw a crying lady. "I was going to cross the road when some woman grabbed my purse and disappeared. I noticed her entering this cafe. Can you help me get my things back?" The detective entered the cafe. "Ah, that's my purse, right between those two women, but I can't recognize the one who took it. I didn't have enough time to look at her attentively." Morris didn't need much time to figure out which woman was guilty. It's the one on the right. The woman on the left has her left arm in a cast. If she had taken the purse, she'd have put it on the right side of herself. Joan took part in an experiment testing her logical thinking and analytical skills. The girl was locked in a small room. The door was supposed to open automatically once she figured out the riddle written on a piece of paper. Which principle is this sequence based on? 85491763320. The numbers are lined up based on the alphabetical order of the first and second letters of their names. 8, 5, 4, 9, and so on. Hannah called her friend, Detective Evelyn Marks, and asked her to come as soon as possible. While the woman was away walking with her dog, someone got into her house and stole her laptop. Hannah was sure it was her neighbor Jeremy. Evelyn went to question the man, but he wasn't at home. She decided to wait for him in her car since it was raining. Soon, she saw Jeremy opening his entrance door. "I went fishing early in the morning. Don't you see that I've just come back?" But the detective didn't believe Jeremy and took him to the police station. Why? The guy is wearing white sneakers, but it's been raining since early morning. If he was out fishing, how can his shoes look so clean? Detective Taylor was chasing a dangerous criminal. Suddenly, the man entered a hospital, but there must be hundreds of rooms there. Luckily, it was raining, and the criminal left footprints on the floor. The detective followed them and got into a small room. There were 3 people there. All of them were covered in bandages from head to toe. But one of them was a fake patient. Who? It's the man in the middle. He doesn't have a medical chart next to his bed. Look at these pretty fish. One of them is different from the rest. Which one is it? This one in the middle. Its eyes are slightly bigger than those of the others. On a cold winter day, a man was standing in front of someone's house. He didn't move or say anything until the spring, and the owner didn't mind. Who was this man? It was a snowman. During one of his experiments, a crazy scientist gives a group of people 2 pills, one safe and one poisoned, with some water to wash it down. They can choose one of the pills, so their chances are 50-50. Strangely, all people get poisoned and have to be rushed to a hospital. Can they all be so unlucky? All the pills were okay. The poison was in the water. The following riddles will put your attention and quick thinking to the test. Look at this Reebus riddle. Mill and Lion. Can you figure out what it means? It's 1 in a million. Now we've got this image. It's filled with room. Can you find the odd word? Yep, there's a boom among all those rooms. James is carrying a barrel that weighs 60 pounds. What can the guy add to it to make it weigh 40 pounds? All James needs to add is a hole. Find the number that doesn't belong here. Right you are. 280 is different from all these 208s. Can you figure out what's wrong in this picture? Roses don't grow on the seafloor. The same picture, but the mistake is different this time. Spiders don't live underwater. But then, where did this spider web come from? How can you pop a balloon with a knife without it bursting or losing air in the process? Deflate the balloon first. Only after that, stick the knife through it. How can you take one from 19 and get 20? You can easily do it if you use Roman numerals. See for yourself. 14 minus I equals sign x sec. Adam added 6 to 11 and got 5. And it was the correct answer. How is it possible? It's correct if we talk about time. It's 11 a.m. If you add 6 hours, it'll be 5 p.m. It took a witch 8 years to finish digging the deepest well in the world. Every next year, she managed to double its depth. How many years did it take the well to reach half of its maximum depth? Seven years. If the witch doubled the well's depth every year, it had to be half its final depth the year before it was completed. You need to get into your rival's computer, but it's password protected. The only hint you have is a note you found hidden under the keyboard. 1 mouse, 3 books, 2 boards, 1 knight, 4 balls, 2 lighters, 1 girl, 1 haul, 3 watches. Can you figure out what the password is? It's moonlight. The number in front of each word refers to the corresponding letter of this word. A treasure hunter finds a chest filled with gold and jewelry in a cave on a distant island. There are 3 keys next to the chest: red, blue, and gold. Only one of them can open the chest, and the treasure hunter has only one attempt to choose the right key. On the wall, he sees a bizarre inscription: TGK Ho Ili Den. Can it help him pick the correct key? The man should choose the gold key. If he rearranges the letters in the inscription, he'll get the golden key. 3 men were swimming in the sea. The weather was getting worse, and a coast guard asked them to leave the water. But when they got back to the shore, only 2 of the men had wet hair. Why? The 3rd man was bald.
Jessica arrives at an abandoned town to film a documentary. Can you count the number of vampires in this field? Nine. Jessica approaches the local mansion. Can you count the vampires around this place? 0. We only showed you 7 ghosts. Jessica enters the mansion and meets Albus. His age today is 3 times what it will be in 3 years from now, minus 3 times what his age was 3 years ago. How old is Albus? Let's say that his current age is X. Then, the following equation will help to figure out the answer. So, Albus is only 18. Albus hosts a party and invites Jessica. The party goes well, and Jessica makes a lot of interesting videos. But suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Jessica sees that someone has stolen her expensive video camera. Albus questions 3 suspects. Casimir says, "I was eating when the lights turned off. Luckily, I managed to grab the last strawberry cupcake at this party." Morgana says,
I didn't touch her gadgets. I was dancing with Bastian when the lights turned off.
Bastian says, "I only came to this party to see Morgana. I didn't look at other women or their things." Who's lying? Casimir. There's a bunch of strawberry cupcakes on the table, so he didn't grab the last one. Jessica checks her phone and sees something really odd. Can you spot a mistake? Wi-Fi and airplane mode can't be active at the same time. Angelina, Karen, Margot, and Sandra have a musical jazz band. They arrive at the party to perform at a concert. But just before the beginning, everyone realizes that Karen had disappeared. Albus finds her locked up in the basement of his mansion.
It was dark, so I didn't notice who locked me in.
Can you guess who did that? Angelina. Her outfit was okay when they arrived, but she tore off the sequins from the dress because she got caught on the iron door when she locked Karen. Albus shows Jessica his home office and offers a game.
If you can manage to open my safe, I'll give you all the money I'm hiding inside.
Can you help Jessica figure out the code? Take a look at the dice in these two paintings. It's a clue. The code is 6324. Albus points at these two women and tells Jessica, "Meet my wife, Nina." Can you guess which lady is Nina? His wife is the maid. She's wearing a ring while the red-haired lady isn't. Jessica arrives back at her office, but she can't unlock the corporate computer. Someone changed the 10-letter password and left this clue. Can you figure out the new code? The clue is a Reebus, so the password is accelerate. Jessica meets 3 guys online. Later, she visits their places to show how they live. Which guys should Jessica start dating? Magnus has wedding portraits all over the room, so he's married. And Leo seems to be a criminal, so she should choose Nick. Early in the morning, Jessica... Francois online, and today they're finally meeting offline. They go out on a date in a cute Parisian restaurant. Everything's going great. Francois is a smart and handsome guy with a good sense of humor. The waiter brings the desserts. Suddenly, Jessica jumps up and runs away from the restaurant. Why did she run away? Jessica saw Francois's face in the news. He's a runaway criminal. Jessica enters the local gift shop. The owner complains,
"Someone stole the goods from my shop. About 10 items disappear from the shelves every week. The staff members have no idea who the thief is."
Jessica offers the shop owner to investigate this case. She watches the CCTV footage and identifies who's guilty right away. What about you? Can you spot the thief? It's this lady. She put the stolen goods in her bag. Jessica goes to the local haunted house to film a documentary. She takes 3 friends with her: Louis, Madeline, and Pierre. No one ever dared to enter this house because of creepy rumors. But the guys decided to check it out and see for themselves. They enter the living room and click some Polaroids. They take a good look at the images, freak out, and run away from the mansion. Only 4 people walked inside the mansion. All 4 are standing in this picture. If they're here, who took this shot? A ghost? Jessica finds a puppy on the street and brings it to the nearest vet clinic. The puppy only had a collar with its name, but no information about its owner. After a while, 3 people arrive at the clinic. Each begins to insist that he's the only owner of this puppy. The doctor calls the police and they interview each of them. Clark says,
I was so scared. I called the animal shelters in this city, but they didn't know where Fluffy was.
Oliver says,
I was walking the dog in the park. I turned my back for just a minute and he was gone. I have no idea why he ran away.
And Sam says, honey, I bought a new bone for you. Come over here. Who's the real owner of this puppy? Take a look at the puppy's collar. Its name is Toby, but Clark called him Fluffy. And Sam is trying to lure the puppy with a bone. So the real owner is Oliver. Jessica is visiting a speed dating event. She talks to 3 guys. Each tells her a couple of facts about himself. Pierre says, I'm an artist. I've just signed a contract to paint a wall in the local co-working space. I've never been in a serious relationship, but now I'd like to find a muse and settle down with her. Jacques says, I'm El Reto. I used to be married, but she moved abroad. And now my work is my only girlfriend. And Glenn says, I run my own restaurant. I'd like to find a soulmate to cook delicious meals for her every day. Who should Jessica choose? Pierre clearly wore a wedding ring. There's a tan line on his ring finger, so he's a liar. Take a closer look at Jacques. His nails are too sharp and his legs are very hairy. It's a full moon, so he's probably a werewolf. It's not safe to date a beast, so Jessica should choose Glenn and enjoy his cuisine. Daniel and Cherry have been talking on the phone for a while. Today, they decided to go for a coffee. This is the first time they're going to meet in person. And they haven't seen any pictures of each other. Cherry texts Daniel, I will wear a pair of pink hair clips. When Daniel arrives at the coffee shop, he sees 3 ladies, and surprisingly, all of them are wearing pink hair clips. Can you help Daniel find his date? Take a look at the first table carefully. There are 2 coffee mugs. This means that this lady is already with someone. The lady sitting at the second table is already enjoying her coffee and a book. Clearly, she's not here for a date. And the third lady is wearing a beautiful dress and her table is empty. Therefore, she's Cherry. Cherry's ex-boyfriend, Drake, is a powerful magician. He doesn't want to let her go, so he kidnaps Cherry and locks her on top of a high tower, with only 1 window and no doors at all. Also, Drake sets a magic fire around the tower for extra protection and leaves. Cherry realizes that she has little time to escape. She looks around and sees 3 magic potions. The bottles are labeled. One would give her incredible physical strength, the other one would turn Cherry into a vampire, and the third one would let her summon any animal. Which potion should she use? Even if Cherry destroys the tower, she can do nothing with the magic fire. And no animal can help her escape. But if she becomes a vampire, she'll be able to turn into a bat and fly away. Cherry escapes and finds herself in an enchanted forest. Can you find 4 magical creatures here? Take a look at this cave. There's a troll hiding inside. Also, there are 2 pixies sitting on the flowers. And this tree is a wood goblin. Cherry goes ahead and finds a road sign. There are 3 routes leading to the nearest village. An immortal fire-breathing dragon is guarding the first path. The second route lies through the lands of a witch. She hates men and turns every guy who dares to enter her land into a stone statue. And the third path is a habitat for leopards. Can you help Cherry choose the best route? The second option sounds good. Cherry is a woman, so the witch has no reason to turn her into a statue, because she only hates men. Cherry asks the witch to help her find the village. The witch offers a deal.
If you crack my pattern riddle, I'll tell you. But if not, you'll be my servant forever.
Cherry had nothing to do but agree.
You can have pepper, but not salt. You can have beef, but not chicken. Carrots, broccoli, and cabbage. But no potato in any form. Oh, and you have to eat with a spoon.
Can you help Cherry crack the pattern? She's only allowed items containing 2 of the same letters in a row. The witch helps Cherry find a road. 3 drivers stop and offer a ride to the village. Can you help Cherry choose the safest option? There's a zombie hiding in the back of the first car, and there are no passenger seats in the third car. Although the second car's windshield is cracked, it's still the best choice. Finally, Cherry finds the village. This place is magical. Many amazing creatures live here. Suddenly, a half-hippo approaches Cherry and yells,
Please help me. One of these guys had stolen my clothes.
Can you guess who? Take a look at the dog's badge. It says hippo. So, it was the dog who stole his shirt. Cherry meets the local farmer, Timothy. He used to keep chickens in another country. Things were going well and he made good money. But then he bought a big farm in this village and moved there. Soon, Timothy got to know that floods are very frequent in this area. But he didn't get upset and decided to breed ducks instead of chickens. Why? Ducks can swim, so floods aren't so dangerous for them. Timothy invites Cherry over for dinner at home. But unfortunately, Cherry's ex-boyfriend Drake had already found them. He captures Timothy and Cherry at the farmer's house. Suddenly, the phone rings. Drake allows Timothy to take the phone, but he can't reveal the situation. Otherwise, Drake will use his magic wand to turn them into snakes. So Timothy replies,
Hey, Mom, how can I help you? I'm home and about to go to bed. If it's not an emergency, can I call you later? I'm really sleepy.
30 minutes later, the police arrive, confiscate the magic wand, and rescue the guys. How did Timothy ask for help? He held the mute button saying everything except the words help, home, emergency, and call. The detective gives Drake a chance to get freedom. He can pass through one of these 3 doors. Jungles full of dangerous animals are hiding behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a tank with ice water that is impossible to stand in for even a minute. And there's a giant fire-breathing dino behind the third door. Which door is more or less safe? Drake should pick the third door. Dinos don't breathe fire, and they went extinct millions of years ago. Drake returns to his castle and discovers that someone had broken all the bottles with his precious potions in his lab. Drake gets furious and interrogates his 3 goblin servants. Willie says,
I was cleaning the castle all day long. I didn't even enter your lab today.
Tilly says,
I was picking roses in the garden in the morning. Then I entered your lab to bring rose petals for your potions. Everything was fine.
And Billy says,
I was cooking dinner in the kitchen and then I went to the bathroom to take a quick shower.
who's lying? Tilly, he didn't pick the roses, they're still in the garden. Meanwhile, Timothy drives Cherry home. They stop to buy something on the way. Can you guess what exactly by just looking at this image? Kiwi. Then Timothy takes 2 pictures of Cherry. Can you find 10 differences between them? Here they are. Someone robbed Cherry's house when she was on a picnic on the 4th of July. The detective finds 4 suspects and questions them about what they were doing that day. Bobby, the fireman, says,
I was on duty the day before.
I was very tired, so I went sleeping all day long. Nick is a student. He says,
I was celebrating Independence Day with my family.
Rick, the manager, says,
It was a holiday and I was playing games with my roommates. Then we watched TV all night.
And Kyle, the postman, says,
I was at the post office all day. All my colleagues saw me.
The detective identifies the robber immediately. What about you? It was Kyle. He couldn't work at a post office on the 4th of July. It's a public holiday. Cherry receives her first salary and hides the cash in her closet. Cherry's 3 roommates are not at home at this time, so she just leaves the money and goes to the gym right away. After a while, Cherry returns home and discovers that her money had been stolen from the closet. She starts looking all over the room, but finds no clues. Suddenly, her 3 roommates enter the room. Cherry asks each of them,
Has anyone stolen my money?
Bella replies,
I was in college all day. I just got home from lunch and I didn't enter this room.
Anna says,
I came home for lunch as well, but after Bella. I opened the closet door to look for some documents, but there was no money inside.
And Megan says,
I had no idea that you were hiding cash in the closet. I just returned from work. You should talk to the security guard.
Who's the thief? Bella must have concluded that if Cherry is searching this room, money should have been stolen only from here, so she doesn't sound suspicious. But Anna said that she had searched the closet and found no money. Meanwhile, Cherry didn't mention the closet in the first place. Therefore, Anna is the thief. Harry uploads a dating app, hoping to find a girlfriend. He likes these 3 ladies, but 2 of them are not single. Can you guess who? The second lady has 2 shampoos on a bathroom shelf, one for her curly hair and one shampoo for male hair and beards. So she's probably living with her husband, and the third lady is wearing a necklace in the shape of half a heart. The second half probably belongs to her boyfriend. So only the first lady is single. Early in the morning, Harry goes to the local park for a workout. He sees these 3 runners on the way. Can you decide who's faster? The second one. What about these cyclists? Who's the fastest? The third one. After the workout, Harry enters his favorite cafe and sees a lot of people. All the tables are occupied, but one person already finished eating. Can you guess who? This guy. There's money on his table. Harry looks around the cafe and sees a crying woman. Can you guess why she's so upset? She's crying because her friend is pulling her hair. Harry is flying business class to another city. There are 4 women in the cabin. One of them is smuggling gold. Can you guess who? The fourth one. Her belly is unnaturally square. So he goes to the park and gets attacked by a crowd of zombies. Harry is terrified. He begins to run away. There are 3 possible routes in front of him, but only one of these routes will actually take him to a shelter. Can you help Harry find the correct way? Route A doesn't look simple, but it's the only way out. Harry is visiting an engagement party. His brother Kevin proposes to his girlfriend Bella with a fancy diamond ring. And she says yes. The party goes well, but suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Bella sees that someone has sneaked an engagement ring from her finger. Harry questions 3 suspects. Peter says,
I was cutting a cake in the kitchen when the lights turned off.
Allie says,
I was playing the piano in the living room when suddenly it became super dark. But I'm a pro, so I continued to play blindly.
And Kitty says,
Sorry, I've been arguing on the phone with my ex-boyfriend, so I didn't look around.
who's lying? Allie. She said she was playing the piano, but there are no musical instruments in the living room. At the party, Harry meets a pretty lady named Monica. He falls in love with her at first sight, but unfortunately, she's already married. Can you guess which one of these guys is her spouse? It's the first guy. He's the only one who doesn't hold any drink, and Monica is holding 2 glasses, one for herself and one for her husband. The party goes on, and Harry meets Vlad. He's a real vampire. One of these ladies is his wife. Can you guess who? The first lady's not a vampire. She bit this cookie and smeared her red lipstick. And the second one is wearing a garlic necklace, probably to chase away evil powers. Meanwhile, the third lady has sharp ears and red eyes, so she's probably a vampire just like Vlad. But the task was to spot Vlad's wife. Nobody said that she's necessarily a vampire. Take a look at the first lady's ring finger. She has a ruby ring that's similar to Vlad's. Therefore, she's his spouse. Harry runs a hardware store chain. He arrives at one of the shops to investigate a theft. The manager says,
This morning I found out that some Xboxes are missing. They could be stolen yesterday. Only 2 guys worked last night. One of them must be the thief. Personally, I think it was Bob.
Harry asks, why do you think so?
I talked to both of them. Bob said that he saw nothing suspicious, and Zach said that he'd seen Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car.
Harry asks the manager to take him to Bob. They approach Bob at the parking lot. Harry says, now I'm pretty sure that Zach is guilty. Why did Harry think so? Zach said Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car. However, Bob has a 2-seat car. Harry calls the police and they arrest Zach. The manager decides to change the 7-number password on the storage door to avoid further thefts. He leaves this little clue for all his colleagues. Can you crack this code? The number of fingers implies 5. The number of angles in the triangle implies 3. The number of petals in the flower is 6. The circle implies 0. The rainbow has 7 colors. It symbolizes the number 7. And finally, the square has 4 angles, so the passcode is 536074. Harry figures out the code and changes it again to test Bob's intelligence. Harry gives him the following clue. It's a 7-digit code. The first digit is the number of zeros in the code. The second digit is the number of ones in it. The third digit is the number of 2s. The fourth digit is the number of 3s. The fifth digit is the number of 4s. The sixth digit reveals the number of 5s. And finally, the 7th digit shows the number of 6s. Can you figure out the code? The correct answer is 3211000. Harry goes on a road trip. He stops in the middle of a desert to take pictures. Can you spot 3 odd things? Harry's shadow falls to the right, and the shadows from the cacti fall to the left. He's in the desert, but this cactus is growing in a pot, and this lizard is wearing tiny shoes. Harry rents a room in a motel for a couple of days. Unfortunately, he has a very annoying neighbor, Karen. They're arguing all the time. One day, Karen calls the local security and accuses Harry of stealing her towel. It's been raining all day long, so I didn't go to the beach and stayed in my room. Harry grabbed my beach towel from this rope. I could see from my window. He folded it and put it into his backpack. The guard immediately realizes that Karen is lying. How? The rope is outdoors. It doesn't make any sense to dry towels in the rain. Harry purchases a tour to see the local waterfalls. He takes a nap on the bus. Then he wakes up and sees that his favorite baseball cap is missing. Harry interrogates 3 tourists nearby. Sally says, "Sorry, I was sleeping too. I don't know who did it." Oliver says, "Look at me, I don't wear baseball caps, man. I prefer classy hats." And Molly says, "I think it was Sally. She's very suspicious. I'm almost sure that she tried to steal my chocolates when I fell asleep." Can you spot the thief? It was Oliver. He hid Harry's cap under his classy hat. Harry enters the local bakery. Rosie, the barista, is very upset.
I have so many coffee orders, but someone stole all the beans from the storage room.
Harry interrogates 3 suspects. Louis, the cook, says,
I spent the whole day in the kitchen baking croissants, and I'm just working on a new batch. I don't have time to talk to you.
Ron, the waiter, says,
I forgot to set my alarm, so I overslept and arrived just now. I don't know who sneaked the beans.
And finally, Dan, the manager, says,
I've been talking to one dissatisfied customer all morning. She was so annoying. I didn't have the chance to look around.
who's lying? The cook. There are no croissants either in the kitchen or in the bakery window. A beauty contest is taking place in the city. Melanie wins and gets her beauty queen crown. After the contest, a cleaning lady finds Melanie lying unconscious backstage. The detective arrives at the crime scene in 20 minutes. He asks the suspects just one question.
What were you doing within the last 20 minutes?
Holly, the rival, says,
I was taking selfies with my boyfriend.
Steve, the photographer, says, I was taking pictures of the contestants. Mr. Bold, the judge, says,
I was talking to my wife.
And the cleaning lady, Stella, says,
I just found Melanie and called 911 right away. And then I just stayed with her until the doctor's arrival.
who's lying? Steve. There's Melanie in his pictures. Therefore, he couldn't have taken them within the last 20 minutes. Bella comes on a famous TV show for money. Her last task is to put her hand in one of 3 tanks. There are gold bars in each of them. She's allowed to get them if she can. One tank is filled with boiling water, and the second one with acid that will burn any flesh. And the third tank is filled with venomous scorpions. Which tank should Bella put her hand in? Bella should just wait until the boiled water cools off and use the first tank. James is walking in the woods. Suddenly, he spots a leprechaun. James grabs the creature and asks him, "Where's your gold? Answer me now!" The leprechaun says,
It's under this tree. Just let me go.
James replies, I don't have a shovel. I have to go home. But how can I find this place later? James comes up with an idea. He ties a red ribbon over the tree to recognize it among the others. And then James makes the leprechaun swear not to take off the ribbon. But the leprechaun finds a way to hide his gold from James without breaking the oath. What did he do? He tied a red ribbon on every tree in this forest. Tricky leprechauns. Holly and Sally prepare a new prank. They go to school at 5 a.m. and sneak into the classroom. Suddenly, they see a bat turning into their biology teacher. They spend all day staring at her. Is there any proof that she's a vampire? Take a look at her coat. She's hiding a very peculiar object in her pocket. Let's take a closer look at this group of people. One of the ladies is kidnapped. Can you guess who? It's the lady on the right. If the left lady was kidnapped, she wouldn't have had a handbag with her. Megan arrives from work and finds out that her cat is missing.
She must have sneaked out from the window.
Megan goes around the neighborhood and questions 3 possible witnesses. Molly says,
I've just arrived from work. I didn't see any cats on the way.
Mrs. Darling says,
I already have 15 cats. Why do I need yours?
Victor says, I'm allergic to most animals, so I've never had any pets. And I don't know how to help you. Who's lying? Victor. There are cat footprints in his garden leading to a pet door on his porch. so he obviously has a pet. 4 people in Halloween costumes robbed a bank, but eventually they get caught and arrested the same night. One of them is only 12 years old. Can you guess who? This guy. His hands are too small for these handcuffs. Which lady is richer? The lady on the right. Her name is engraved on a handbag, and another woman is proudly wearing it. On Monday afternoon, students find their math teacher unconscious in the classroom. Someone attacked him during the lunch break. The police suspect that the criminal is one of the students. Can you spot this person? The teacher grabbed the attacker's shirt and ripped it. This guy doesn't wear a shirt. Therefore, he's a criminal. James and Molly have been married for 5 years, but they haven't taken a vacation yet. Finally, they decide to go to the ocean. To get there, they have to cross the border. The guard says,
You have to tell me the password if you want to pass.
"Can you help them crack the password?" You should literally count the number of benches, trees, and apples in this area. So the code is 471. Dan and Sam are hanging out on a beach. Dan plays volleyball and then goes to a beach cafe to have some drinks. Dan tries his coconut. Soon after that, he feels sick and faints. Sam calls 911 and they take Dan to the hospital. The policeman questions 3 suspects. Sam says,
He drank a coconut from this cafe and felt sick. I think the waiter poisoned him.
The waiter says, "Why would I do that? Dan played volleyball before coming here and won the game. Perhaps his opponent decided to get revenge." And Kyle, the opponent, replies,
We finished the game and I went swimming in the sea.
"Who poisoned Dan?" Take a look at the score. Dan lost the game. Therefore, the waiter lied about his winning to frame Kyle. Sheila is taking a boat trip, but not all passengers are humans. Can you spot who's not? Take a look at the broomstick. It's levitating. She's a witch. It's a sunny Sunday morning. Gia and her daughter Lizzie are watching TV. According to the forecast, it will be a rainy and windy day today. Gia says, "Lizzie, please don't go outside today. You may catch a cold." Gia goes shopping and leaves Lizzie home alone. She comes back in about 2 hours. It was raining, and Gia immediately realizes that Lizzie did go outside. How did she know? Someone moved the umbrella. Kelly arrives at a hotel where she booked a room. The manager says that she can choose a room. There are 4 available options. Can you help Kelly make the right choice? There's a stinky dump behind the window in the first room. As for the second room, there's someone watching through this painting. And there's a zombie in the closet in the 4th room. So Kelly should stay in the 3rd room. Jack is a successful lawyer. He has a small country house where he lives alone. Once he goes on a business trip, 5 days later he gets home and discovers that someone has entered his office. His enemies must have searched it. How did he know? Someone lowered his chair. Stella goes to her favorite cafeteria to have lunch. She can choose one of 3 combos. But she's allergic to seafood, all green vegetables, and all red berries. Can you help her choose the safest option? First of all, let's exclude the third lunch. There are shrimp swimming in this soup. The chicken burrito combo looks good, but the dessert contains red berries. So, Stella should choose the lasagna. Lisa breaks her phone and goes to the service center. There, she meets 3 workers. One of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? This first guy. He's using a regular fork to repair the device. Peter is walking in a garden. He takes some pretty pictures of the full moon. Suddenly, someone pushes him from behind and he faints. After a while, Peter wakes up in a creepy basement. A mysterious voice says that Peter can escape through one of these 3 doors. There are multiple wolves behind the first door. They haven't been eating for 2 years, so they're very hungry and angry. There's a forest full of venomous monsters behind the second door. They hate humankind, and it's impossible to get through them alive. And there's a creepy werewolf waiting behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Room 2 is a bad idea. It's a full moon. So room 3 is also unsafe. Therefore, Peter should choose the first door. Wolves can't survive without food for 2 years. Wendy is preparing a college project in a co-working space. She leaves her laptop on the table and goes to the bathroom. Then she returns and finds out that her laptop is gone. Who stole it? It's the lady on the right. Her hoodie pocket has an odd square shape. How about a refreshing brain workout? If you're ready, let's start. A man walked into a room and saw 3 doors. The first one had a sign which read, "To the swamps." On the second door, there was a note, "Lion's Den." The third door didn't have any sign, but the man knew for sure where it led. How? It was the door he had entered through. You return from your lunch break and discover that someone has stolen $50 from your bag. There are 4 suspects: Mila, Henry, Jackson, and Victoria. When you ask them about the money, Mila replies she hasn't taken it. Henry says he's pretty sure Jackson's got the money. Jackson shouts, "No way! Henry's lying!" And Victoria claims Mila's telling the truth. Only one of these people isn't lying. Who's taken your money? It's Mila. She, Henry, and Victoria are lying, while Jackson's telling the truth. If anyone else had taken your $50, there would be more than one person telling the truth. Several sparrows landed on trees. 1 bird for 1 tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped, with 2 sparrows sitting on 1 tree. After this, 1 tree was left birdless. How many birds and trees were there? There were 4 sparrows and 3 trees. 3 famous detectives came to a cafe to discuss a tricky case. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first detective said, "I don't know." The second detective answered, "I don't know." And the third detective said, "Yeah." Why did he say no? All the detectives wanted to have coffee, but the first two couldn't know if it could be everyone's choice. If the first two detectives hadn't wanted coffee, they'd simply have said no. So when the third detective heard the replies of his colleagues, he figured out that both of them wanted coffee. And since he was also going to have a cup, he said yes. Look at this picture and try to figure out who is an alien in disguise. It's the guy in a yellow shirt. He's eating a banana, but he hasn't peeled it before biting into it. He probably sees this fruit for the first time. You have an equation made of matchsticks. 6 plus 4 equals 4. Move just one matchstick to make it true. You need to take one matchstick from the plus sign and add it to 6 so that it makes 8. Then you'll have 8 minus 4 equals 4. Look at this picture. All these people seem to be very close, but who is the girl's husband? It's the guy on the right. He's the only one to have a wedding band on his finger. The next riddle to check how attentive you are. Who is her husband? It's the guy on the left. Look, here's his photo in the car. He's actually the owner of this vehicle. Can you figure out what's wrong here? These guys seem to be wearing smartwatches. Hey, detective, your next task is to understand where the criminal is hiding. Make sure to pay attention to every detail. The criminal is in House A. The car next to his house is parked in a way that makes it easier for the criminal to drive away as fast as possible. Can you figure out which of these people is in the greatest danger? It's this guy. This large icicle is about to fall right on his head. Is the person in the yellow car driving right or wrong? It's a wrong and very dangerous way of driving. The car is moving very slowly, and to overtake it, the next driver will have to maneuver from the leftmost lane to the right one. It can easily cause an accident. How can you get from 98 to 720 by just adding one letter? Add the letter X between 90 and 8. You'll get 90 times 8 equals 720. A wealthy businessman was traveling by a high-speed train. He had a suitcase full of cash on him. The train was moving through a mountainous area with numerous tunnels. After the train left one of the tunnels, the businessman noticed that his suitcase was missing. There were only 4 other passengers in the train car. Matthew said he had broken up with his girlfriend and didn't care about anything happening around. Joseph said that he'd bought his favorite author's novel at the station and had been engrossed in reading. Zoe said that she hadn't seen anything. Her eyes had been tearing, irritated by the smoke coming from the train. And Ellie claimed she had been napping with her sleeping mask on. So, can you figure out who took the businessman's suitcase? It was Zoe. Modern high-speed trains are electric and don't produce smoke. You've got a bag filled with oranges. You need to use these oranges to fill up 2 other bags of the same size. How can you do it? Put 1 empty bag into the other and fill them with oranges. Detective Marcus and another passerby became witnesses of a car accident. A man, hit by a minivan, was lying on the ground, unconscious. Marcus rushed to the nearest cafe to call an ambulance. When he got back, the passerby told him the man had turned onto his back, but hadn't come to his senses. After looking at the scene for a couple of seconds, the detective said, "You better return everything you've taken from this man." Why did he say so? When they saw the man at first, only 1 button was buttoned on his suit jacket, but now it's already 2 buttons. The passerby must have opened his jacket to look for the wallet and then buttoned it up incorrectly. Now, imagine you're lost in a forest on a freezing cold winter night. You realize that you have nothing to warm you up. There are 3 options: to stay where you are and call for help, to keep walking until you get out of the forest, and to go on, but take small breaks, sit on the snow, and cover yourself with some branches. What should you choose? If you stay in one place, you'll freeze in no time. Sitting on the snow during short breaks isn't a great idea either. Branches won't warm you up, and you may accidentally fall asleep and never wake up again. The only way to survive is to keep walking. Sarah invited her friend Alice, who was studying to become a police officer, to a party. It was organized by Sarah's friend Sean. Sarah was worried that there might be a thief at this party. Throughout the event, Alice was watching the guests attentively. At the end of the party, she told Sarah who the thief was. Have you figured it out too? It's the host, Sean. At the beginning of the party, one of his guests had a watch on his wrist, and this woman had a beautiful necklace. But at the end of the party, the watch is already on Sean's wrist, and the necklace is in that flower pot. See? Austin, a rich businessman, brought very important documents to his office, but he had a meeting and needed to leave for several hours. Austin asked his secretary to be super attentive. His competitors could try to break into his office to look at the documents. When he came back, his secretary told him everything had been quiet. But when the man looked around, he realized someone had been inside his office. The secretary eventually admitted having fallen asleep while Austin was away. How did the businessman understand someone had visited his office? The globe on his desk is now turned in the opposite direction. Look at these people attentively. Who does this dog belong to? The dog's owner is the guy in the middle. He's the only one who isn't trying to pet the animal.
Hey Sherlock, I've got a job for you. Are you ready to polish your analytical skills? Great. Here you go.
Yeah.
Once Lily, a real estate agent, was showing a luxurious apartment to a wealthy family. The family liked everything about the apartment, but for one thing, the place had huge floor-to-ceiling windows, and they were worried someone could accidentally break the glass and fall out. Lily really wanted to sell that expensive apartment. That's why she decided to prove that the glass was unbreakable. She ran up to the window and hit it at full speed. The glass indeed didn't break, but Lily fell out of the window and was rushed to a hospital. How could it happen? The glass didn't break, it simply popped out of its frame. One day, Detective Morris decided to have a walk in the park. In the middle of his stroll, he got a call from his assistant. It turned out that a huge pile of plastic on the outskirts of the city had disappeared overnight. The detective rushed there, and guess what? The information was true. But the most bizarre thing? There were no tire tracks or any other marks around the place. But then, how could the thief transport so much plastic without using a vehicle? Suddenly, Detective Morris noticed some weird footmarks. Can you help the man understand who they belong to? Those are definitely not human footprints. They might belong to an animal or some other creature. The case is getting weirder by the minute. Detective Morris was wandering around the city for hours looking for clues. Soon his assistant informed him about the disappearance of yet another pile of plastic. At the crime scene, the detective found the same footmarks. The expert he had asked to examine the photos and samples replied that the footprints didn't match any other in her extensive database. She even suggested that they could belong to an alien. But why would aliens need our plastic? Morris decided to prevent the next crime. He went to the outskirts of the city again and spotted 2 piles of garbage. Look at them attentively. Which one might aliens want to steal? They will definitely go for the pile on the left. There's too much stuff made of iron in the right pile, but aliens are after plastic, so pile on the left it is. Detective Morris decided to catch the aliens red-handed. In an hour or so, the man noticed a spaceship landing not far from the piles of trash. An alien climbed out of the spaceship and transported the pile that contained plastic into the ship. Detective Morris was shocked, but there was no time for panicking. A small door was open in the side of the spaceship. He sneaked inside. He only had some time to look around when a siren started blaring. Oh no! Are they gonna take off? The man rushed back to the door, but it was already locked. Luckily, Morris noticed a math equation on the door. It looked as if it was made out of matchsticks. 5 + 7 = 2. But the answer was wrong. By trial and error, the detective understood he could only move one matchstick to make the equation correct. How can he do it? Detective Morris moved this matchstick and got 9 - 7 = 2. The door opened, and the man ran for his life. But the main question remained unanswered. Why did aliens need our plastic? Write your ideas in the comments below. Now look at these animals on the screen. A cat, a camel, a cheetah, a chicken, a crocodile, and a pig. Which animal doesn't belong here? The pig is the odd one out. It's the only animal whose name doesn't start with the letter C. Did you get it? Nice job. Look at these 6 glasses. The first 3 are filled with water, while the other 3 are empty. How can you arrange them so that they alternate in a full empty full pattern if you can only move one glass? Pick up the second glass and pour the water into the 5th one. Here you go. Now you have 7 guests at your birthday party. And your task is to figure out how to divide your very round birthday cake into 8 equal pieces by making only 3 cuts. First of all, you need to cut your cake vertically in the middle of the cake to divide it into 2 equal pieces. Repeat the same process, but this time, make a horizontal cut. Now you've got 4 slices. And the final 3rd cut should go laterally across the cake. Voila! You've got 8 equal slices. Look at these bottom lines and try to figure out which of them is the continuation of the top one. It's this line on the left, see? You've been kidnapped by an insane scientist who's going to test his new protective cream on you. After covering you with this lotion, which you absolutely don't trust, he offers you to choose one of the 3 containers he'll then throw you in. One of the containers is filled with radioactive waste. In the second container, there is an acid that can eat even through metal. And the third one is filled with lava from the largest volcano on Earth that erupted a year ago. Which container should you choose? Pick the container with lava. If the volcano erupted a year ago, the lava must be already solid. Look at these prisoners. Can you figure out who came from the future? It's the guy in the middle. Unlike the other 2 men who are dressed like people were in the past, he's wearing modern clothes and cool sneakers. A terrible virus broke free from a laboratory, and now all animals and plants on Earth are mutating at a horrifying speed. You've been trying to find the solution, but instead got trapped in the laboratory where it had all started. There are 3 doors you can escape through, but behind the first one, there is a bunch of aggressive flesh-eating cacti. The second door hides hundreds of venomous bees, and the third door prevents an attack of fire-spitting dragon-like monsters. Which door can lead you to freedom? You can get out of there alive if you choose the first door. Even though the cacti eat flesh, they're still plants and can't move, so you can easily get around them. You're trapped in a room that's steadily getting filled with water coming from a tap in the wall. There are no windows in the room and the door is blocked. You have a mop and a big bucket. What can you do to survive? Yep, you don't have any options in this riddle, so think of your own way to get out of this situation. Your chances to stay alive are much higher than you might think. Just turn off the tap. Nathan came to visit his friend Zachary, who worked in a museum. Look what I've got. A priceless manuscript that was written more than 1,000 years ago. Zachary looked through the manuscript and realized his friend had been fooled. Does anything in this text strike you as strange? King Alfred V ruled the country from 1290 to 1320 before Common Era. If we talk about the dates before the Common Era, they should be in reverse order. The original text would read, King Alfred V ruled the country from 1320 to 1290 before Common Era. A villain has caught you, and now he lets you choose in which cage he will keep you. You can get out of the cage only through the lid in its ceiling. But on top of the first cage, there is a nest of venomous snakes. Boiling water is on top of the second cage. And on top of the third cage, there is a hungry lion. Which cage should you pick to be able to escape when the villain falls asleep? Choose the second cage because the water will eventually evaporate, and you'll get out of the cage without problems. You're locked in a small room without windows and just one door. To get out of there, you need to crack this riddle. 1, 2, 3 equals 5, 3, 2, 1 equals 9, 2, 1, 1 equals 4, 1, 1, 2 equals 3, 1, 3, 2 equals... How fast can you get out of the locked room? The answer lies in the addition of the second and third digits, and the multiplication of the sum by the first digit. Let's take the first equation. 1, 2, 3 equals 5, 2 plus 3 equals 5. 1 times 5 is 5, let's make sure. 3, 2, 1 equals 9. 2 plus 1 equals 3, 3 times 3 is 9. Then the answer we need is again 5. 3 plus 2 equals 5, 1 times 5 is 5. Now, let's check if you can think outside the box. A few Reebus puzzles will do the job. Try to figure out this one. Weigh. Progress. It means progress underway. How about this one? Noon. Good. It's good afternoon. Pay attention to the arrangement of the letters. C, L, E, A, N. Do you think you can figure it out? It means clean up. What word or phrase can you see here? Give, 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 give. It stands for forgive. Concentrate. I believe you can crack this puzzle. 1N, 3N, 5N, 7N. This Reebus hides odds and ends. Try to figure out this one. Stay 4NCE. It's for instance. Great job! Mr. Carter, a rich man who collected antiques, asked Detective Morris to visit him. When the detective arrived, the collector said, "I've just got a precious statuette, but I need to go away on business for a week, and I'm afraid someone will break into my house." Of course, the statuette is insured, but still. Detective Morris had some other urgent things to do, but he promised to come back in the evening to figure out the solution. But when he arrived several hours later, Mr. Carter was in despair. I drove my sister to the doctor and was away for an hour or so. But when I came back, the statuette was gone. Detective Morris didn't believe the collector. Why? When he left the house in the afternoon, he noticed an apple lying in front of the left part of the gate. It's still there. But for a car to drive through, both parts of the gate have to be open. This means that Mr. Carter lied about leaving his home by car. Several gold bullion bars were stolen from a bank. The police had a few suspects. But when they arrived at the main suspect's house, they realized they had forgotten to bring a warrant. The man told them he wasn't going to allow them to search his house. "Come back with the warrant and we'll talk." An hour later, the police officers came back with the needed documents. They thoroughly searched the house and the garden, but didn't find the gold. Suddenly, one of the officers exclaimed, "I know where he hid the gold. Have you figured it out too?" The gold is in the swimming pool. When the police visited the man for the first time, the level of water in it was much lower. A very famous painting disappeared from a museum. Later, the police managed to find it. But there was a problem. They found not one, but 3 paintings. Only one of them is original. The others are just copies. Can you help the police figure out which the original painting is? It's the one with the brown frame. Take a look. All frames in the museum are made in the same style. You've got accepted to the best school of witchcraft and wizardry. One of the classes you have to attend is about transforming into animals. There are 3 professors who teach this class. Each of them specializes in transforming into a certain animal. Look at your professors and try to figure out what kind of animal each of them turns into. Have you noticed that the first professor has a forked tongue? He must transform into a snake. The second professor has a lion's tail. It must be the animal she transforms into. And the third professor has bear claws. He must turn into a grizzly bear.
Yo, Sherlock, are you ready for some more detective challenges? Well, grab your pipe and let's go.
Yeah.
Successful businessman Jeff walked into his home office one day, and realized that his safe was open and the money and documents were gone. He immediately called the police. When the detective arrived, she found out that everyone in the house had an alibi. Amy, Jeff's wife, said she had been working out at the gym that morning. The cleaner answered that she had been cleaning the basement and hadn't heard anything. And the cook told the detective he had been in the kitchen all day preparing meals and had never left it. The detective immediately figured the case out. Can you do the same? It was the cook. He said he had never left the kitchen, but look at his shoes. They're muddy. On a sunny morning, a traveler is wandering through the jungle. All of a sudden, the path splits up into 3 smaller roads. One leads to a dangerous marsh that swallows everything and everybody that gets there. The second road leads to vampire hunting grounds. And the third path will bring the traveler to an active volcano filled with red-hot lava. Which road is the safest? The traveler should take the second path. Even if vampires do exist, they don't show up in daylight. Lucas lived in the center of Paris, but he didn't like the Eiffel Tower. So every day, he had dinner in the only place from which he 100% couldn't see the construction. What was this place? Lucas always had dinner in a restaurant at the top of the Eiffel Tower. The police got a call from a woman. She claimed to have heard some strange noise from the house next door. The police arrived and saw that the door to the basement was open. They went downstairs and saw 2 men. One of them shouted, "This man kidnapped me! I've been here for a week and have just managed to break free from the cuffs." The other man replied angrily, "You're lying! You are the kidnapper! I set myself free just minutes ago." The police checked the fingerprints all over the basement. Look at them and try to figure out which man is the kidnapper. It's this guy. You can see only his fingerprints on the switch, and since the switch is too high above the floor, the victim wouldn't have been able to reach it. Alan was on his way to work. When he was passing by a dark alley, he heard a loud scream. The man went back to check it out. Someone was shouting, "Help me! I'm trapped!" As soon as Alan saw the alley, he called the police and ran away. Why? There are 2 sets of footprints going into the alley, but no footprints coming out. Tim worked on a large cruise ship. One day, the captain asked him to go to the hold to get some supplies. But as the man was walking down the ladder, it broke, and he fell to the floor of the hold. Try as he might, he couldn't get out. Sometime later, he discovered there was a hole in the side of the ship. More and more water was getting inside through this hole. How can Tim get out? He can put on one of the life jackets that are in the room and wait for the water to fill the hole. The water will lift him and he'll be able to push the door open. Let's check how attentive you are. Can you figure out which of these prehistoric people is actually from the future? It's the girl frying that large piece of meat. Next to her, there's a backpack and a flashlight. Now, look at these people waiting in the doctor's office. Who is an alien from another planet? It's this guy. Look at his bandage. It's soaked in some liquid, or is it blood? And it's blue. How about these people working in the garden? Can you spot a space traveler? It's actually none of these people. The real alien is hiding behind that tomato bush. Once, Jim saw a beautiful girl in his favorite cafe. He came up to her and introduced himself. The girl was really nice. She promised to give Jim her phone number if he guessed her name. Then she wrote something on a piece of paper and gave it to Jim. After thinking for a while, Jim told the girl his answer and got her phone number. What was her name? Eve, because December 31st is New Year's Eve. Rob works as a mechanic in his own garage. One afternoon, he went out to get some supplies. When he came back, he noticed someone had been to his office. The intruder tried to put everything back the way it had been before, but they forgot some small details. Can you spot them? There's a lipstick mark on Rob's coffee cup, and his chair is lowered. Mrs. Ruth was heading home after buying ingredients for her burger party. Suddenly, she saw someone running towards her. This person grabbed her bag filled with food and her wallet.
Oh no!
The woman immediately called the police. She reported what had happened and added that it was a man wearing sunglasses and a black hoodie. Police officers started patrolling the park. They found the hoodie and the glasses. Can you figure out which of these people took Mrs. Ruth's things? It's the one with the dog. The animal can smell the meat the man's holding and is waiting for a treat. Chris went on a boat trip to explore marine life. While sailing, he saw a storm coming. The man needed to get out of the water immediately. There were 3 islands in front of him, but only one was safe. The first island was filled with venomous spiders. The waters around the second island were swarming with sharks. And the third island was littered with white bones. Which place should Chris opt for? He should pick the second island. Sharks can't survive on land, and Chris will be fine there. David and Hannah got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island. You think Chris might be there? Nah, never mind. They had neither radios nor cell phones and couldn't inform rescuers about their dire situation. On top of that, there were no trees on the island, and the guys couldn't make a smoke signal. Suddenly, Hannah noticed a plane that was circling in the sky in search of them. Unfortunately, it was flying too high, and the pilot couldn't notice them. But suddenly, David got an idea. As a result, the plane picked them up in no time. What was David's idea? David and Hannah used stones to lay out the letters SOS on the sand. A Michelin chef called the police to report that someone had hit him on the head. He came around in the storage room. The detectives narrowed it down to 3 suspects working in the restaurant. The cook said, "I don't know what happened to the chef. He just disappeared, but I didn't think to check the storage room." The waiter replied, "I was too busy with customers and didn't even look for the chef." And the cleaner said, "I was organizing the cellar because it was dirty." When the detectives heard that, they knew right away who did it. Can you figure it out too? It was the cook. Nobody told him the chef had come to his senses in the storage room. Can you crack this Reebus puzzle? It means no one to blame. How about this one? It's repeat after me. Haha, now I see it. How about this one? A small hint. You need to be extra attentive to crack this one. That's I'm missing you. And probably the trickiest of them all. Try to tackle it. That's a backward glance. Ouch.
Edward and Stan are best friends. Edward lives with his wife, Leah, and Stan lives alone. Can you spot Stan's house? There's a love note on the fridge in the right kitchen. Therefore, Stan lives in the left one. Edward is furious because Leah cleaned his home office without permission. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. A lot of neighbors gather for Edward's garage sale. One of them is a robot. Can you guess who? This gentleman. Stan is visiting a food court and finds 2 similar bakeries. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Over here. What about these burger places? Can you find 10 differences? Here they are. Can you spot a mistake in this menu? Tuna isn't an ice cream. What about this coffee menu? Any mistakes? Free toppings have a price. Stan works in an agency that holds super secret investigations. They're looking for people with superpowers all over the planet. One day, an anonymous user broke into their corporate system where all the data was stored. Stan finds 3 suspects who are capable of such crimes and interrogates them. He asks only one question. What did you manage to find out when you stole the data? Billy says, I haven't done this kind of crime for 15 years. I don't want to go back to prison. Anna says, I was going to steal your data, but I changed my mind. You didn't have any valuable information. Nobody will believe in superheroes. And Liam replies, Bruh, if I committed such a crime, I would have covered all traces. Who's lying? Anna. She couldn't have learned the secret information without breaking into their system. Stan is visiting a fashion show. He received a clue that one of these models can be a robot. Can you guess who? The second lady. She has a USB outlet on her neck. The robot model, Nina, is very famous, and nobody knows that she's not human. Stan invites her to his office. Nina confesses, I arrived from another planet to study human behavior. Unfortunately, someone recorded their secret interrogation and posted it online. Only 4 people were in the office at that moment. Stan questions them. Ryan, the cleaner, says,
I was vacuuming the 5th floor and couldn't hear anything.
Mia, the manager, says,
I'm a huge fan of Nina, even though she's not a human. I would never set her up like that.
And the guard, Billy, says,
I didn't hear your conversation. I was watching a football match in my headphones.
Who's lying? Ryan. Their office is a 4-story building. Nina invites Stan over for dinner. She lives in a big, circular house with a maid, a butler, and a gardener. Nina goes to her room to change. Suddenly, Stan hears her scream and runs to her.
Oh no, someone broke into my safe and stole my diamond necklace.
Stan interrogates the staff. The butler says he was organizing the library. The maid says that she was dusting the corners. And the gardener says she was watering the roses. Who's lying? The maid. She was dusting the corners, but Nina lives in a circular house. So there are no corners. Stan invites Nina to a fancy restaurant to refute rumors that she's a robot. Can you spot any mistakes in this menu? They confused pomegranate with meat. Stan leaves the table to wash his hands and returns in 2 minutes. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. Nina slips and falls on the floor. Now she needs to replace a broken fragment in her body as soon as possible. Stan takes her to a secret lab. They need to enter a 3-digit code to open the door. He starts looking for clues and notices some tips written on the wall. But the last digit is erased. Can you help them crack the password? The digits indicate the points of intersections of the lines. So the last digit is 4. They open the door and enter a spacious hallway. A note on the wall says, "Lab is behind the purple door." Can you help the guys find the purple door? The first door is wooden, but it has an inscription and an arrow indicating that the purple door is on the right. The second door is painted blue and red, so it doesn't fit. Let's take a closer look at the third door. There is purple color under the layer of yellow paint, so the guys choose this door. Nina throws a party at her house and invites Stan. He receives an anonymous message. There's a werewolf among the guests. Can you find this person? The first lady is wearing very long nails, and the second guy has a heavy beard. But it doesn't prove anything. But let's take a look at the third lady. She's trying to hide her shiny yellow wolf eyes under her fancy sunglasses. In the kitchen, Stan meets 3 chefs preparing delicious meals. One of them is a criminal. Can you guess who? The third lady. She's adding glass fragments to the food. Stan calls the police and they arrest the third chef. She confesses that one of the guests, John, bribed her. He asked her to put glass in Stan's plate, but there are 3 Johns at the party. The officer asks one of them just one question. "How do you know Stan?" John 1 says, "I'm a billionaire and I don't do interrogations without my lawyer." John 2 says, "I came here to see Nina because she's my crush. I've never seen Stan before." And John 3 says, "Stan and I went to the same college. I haven't seen him for many years, but today we met by chance." Who's lying? John won. He's wearing a fake Gucci sweater. It's unlikely that he's a billionaire. The next day, Stan wakes up in a dusty basement. A creepy voice says that Stan can pass through one of these 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a tank with crocodiles. Jungles full of wild animals are hiding behind the second door, and there's a giant blue whale behind the third door. It can easily swallow an adult human. Which door is more or less safe? Stan should pick the third door. Whales can't survive without water. Therefore, it's not a threat. Stan returns to his office and finds out that someone has stolen the most expensive superhero costume from the lab. Only 3 people knew about this artifact and had a key: Mia, Billy, and Rose. Stan questions everyone. Mia says, "I was feeling sick yesterday, so I went home." Billy says, "I locked the office at 10 p.m. and carried my key with me." And Rose says, "I carried out technical testing of the suit in the afternoon. After that, I locked it up and left." Who stole the costumes? Mia. She's wearing a superhero costume under her clothes. Stan offers Mia a deal.
If I write your exact weight on a piece of paper, you'll give the costume back.
Mia agrees and gives Stan a piece of paper and a pen. In a minute, she returns the costume. How did Stan do it? Stan literally did what he said. He wrote the phrase, "your exact weight," on the paper. Stan needs to find new investors for his agency. That's why he's meeting 3 people, and each offers Stan a deal. Mallory says, "I used to have unique superpowers when I was little, but I didn't develop them. Now I'm old and rich, and I want to invest in your lab to help people like me." Cherry says, "My parents left me billions of dollars. I want to invest in progressive projects." And Alfred says,
Look, I can help you develop your agency, but I want to have a controlling stake and hire my own staff.
One of them is a liar. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Mallory's hand. She's a robot. Therefore, her story is a lie, because robots don't age.